I've made a couple videos about the SiOnyx Aurora in the past, but even after showing side-by-side performance comparisons against a real night vision monocular, it's still a struggle to convince some people that digital night vision isn't night vision. The Aurora still has some nice qualities though. It's an affordable, relatively compact action camera with very good low-light performance. I find it very useful for filming low-light shooting, comparisons of different IR devices. You can also use it as a quick and dirty way to evaluate the IR reflectivity of different fabrics or materials. The ergonomic factors of the SiOnyx Aurora make it unsuitable for anything other than maybe static observation and surveillance, and the low-light performance is simply not on par with any analog intensifier tubes made in pretty much the last 40 years. However, I also feel the need to defend the SiOnyx Aurora from comments saying that it's no better than the toy night vision goggles that came with the collector's edition of Modern Warfare 2. Because the SiOnyx Aurora is a digital camera with a toggleable IR sensor, in a lot of ways it's very similar to any cheap camera sensor on the market. Like from a toy Nerf night vision scope or any $50 IR sensitive webcam you can buy off of wish.com. Some of that sounds good on paper because a lot of those cheap IR sensitive cameras are in black and white only. The SiOnyx Aurora can shoot in color, and the addition of a color filter in theory cuts the performance of the Aurora sensor by a little bit. One of the black and white digital night vision devices that keeps getting recommended to me is this. This is the Optics Planet OPMOD version of a Carson digital night vision monocular. You can buy one of these for $100, and I read on the internet that they're just as good as a SiOnyx Aurora. What are the fucking odds one of these things outperforms a SiOnyx Aurora at 1/10 the cost?
Slightly below 50% moon tonight. This is the Carson OPMOD with no supplemental illumination.
Turns out the odds are zero. It absolutely does not. This tiny little guy is powered by 3 AAA batteries. It has a black and white IR sensitive camera sensor on the front, as well as an IR emitter with multiple power levels. It has a tiny little black and white screen at the back. Part of the reason it's so cheap and small is because it doesn't have the ability to record like the SiOnyx Aurora, it doesn't have the lens assembly of the SiOnyx Aurora, it doesn't have the toggleable IR filter, but mostly the technology is just not the same. This thing is nowhere near as sensitive as the SiOnyx Aurora. The only way it can really produce a usable image at all in semi-low light conditions is with the use of the very powerful built-in IR illuminator. It's got a low-resolution sensor, a low-resolution screen, it doesn't see in color, everything is very blurry and hard to see even when you adjust the focus properly. It's just not a very effective device. The SiOnyx Aurora probably has a much better sensor, it definitely has a much bigger, much better lens, and it also has a better viewfinder. The OPMOD DNV can be tucked discreetly into a shirt pocket. It's very small, very light, and it doesn't really look like anything. I can only really come up with one interesting use case for this thing based on its size and its price, and that is as a clandestine way to detect infrared signatures, such as those emitted by cameras. It's still a little bit goofy. Every time you turn it on, the IR illuminator comes on full blast, and it is incredibly noticeable, not only because it's blasting out a shit ton of IR, but because it has a very bright red glow to the naked eye. Maybe you can come up with a use case for this I'm not really thinking of. I was mostly interested to see how it performed compared to the SiOnyx Aurora, because I've seen many comments saying, hey, you can get $50 commercial off-the-shelf parts that perform just as well as a SiOnyx Aurora. I don't believe that's true, but I also don't believe the SiOnyx Aurora performs favorably when compared to even a Generation 2 analog intensifier tube. So if you want night vision, buy night vision. If you want a low-light action camera, buy a SiOnyx Aurora. And if you want to see where all the security cameras in your neighborhood are, maybe you should consider this OPMOD Carson digital thingy. All right, see you guys later.